Joining us now, Washington Post national political reporter Isaac Arnsdorf. I'm hoping it's whomever and not whoever. I can't think that quickly on the fly about my grammar. Isaac, thanks for being with us. In this debate prep, both sides want to say the other is the one with the old ideas. How are they able to do that when both of them have had prominent places at the White House? Donald Trump was the incumbent 4 years ago. Vice President Harris is the vice president.
Yeah, and Trump has been making this point a lot with every promise that Harris has been making. Why didn't she already do it in power? And Harris in turn has been saying, we want to turn the page on the past decade, which includes Trump's presidency, but also the presidency of Biden, who she's serving with. And so that does tell you a lot about what voters want to hear. Something that stands out to me is with this kind of breath of fresh air pursuit is the way that the Harris campaign has been really more focused on positive ads and contrast ads rather than attacking Trump, which you had thought about being the Democratic default for ever since he's been the Republican standard bearer. So that really tells you that they are leaning into not talking about Trump so much. The sense that there's some Trump fatigue, and actually their opportunity is to offer a fresh face and a new alternative. And it's actually the Trump campaign and the Trump super PACs that have been more focused on attacking Harris and trying to bring down her favorable ratings when views of her among Americans are a lot less hardwired than they are of Trump or they were of Biden.
What about President Biden? I mean, how much does Harris need to distinguish herself from him? Does she have to cut from him in distinct ways in order to make herself that fresh face?
Well, it's a little bit delicate with, not wanting to undermine the sitting president who she still serves with. But the polling has indicated that actually voters don't overly associate her with Biden's existing policies, that they sort of are giving her that chance to define herself. So far, obviously, the Trump campaign is working hard against that. Their messaging has been very explicit about trying to make Harris responsible for everything that Biden has done. I mean, really just like swapping out one name or the other for criticisms of the exact same policies.
All right. We have Vaughn Hilliard, who's joining us, NBC News correspondent. So, Vaughn, Donald Trump wanted the mics to stay off, didn't want to change the rules. He got his way. ABC News is going to keep the mics off when the candidate's not speaking, their mic is off. But he's still complaining about the rules, and he's complaining about ABC. Let's play a moment from him last night on Fox News with Sean Hannity.
When they said that they wanted to change the rules that they had agreed to, did they ask for notes? Did they ask for the debate?
They wanted notes.
They wanted to be seated, and they wanted your mic hot.
And they wanted a desk. They didn't want to do it. I said, you got to do a stand-up.
After they already agreed to the other.
Yeah, but they wanted a desk from the beginning.
Vaughn, complaining. It's kind of his modus operandi.
And ultimately, the campaign got what they wanted, and this is what the Biden campaign had agreed to back in June. And look, I don't know whether Donald Trump wanted these rules or whether his campaign wanted the rules. The Harris team was trying to poke the bear by, almost like provoking him online to say his advisors were trying to muzzle him from being able to speak out. And ultimately, as you heard here, he is throwing a lot of other, let's be very frank, gibberish out there. One of those examples is that he is suggesting last night on Hannity that the Harris campaign, that they wanted to actually, I'm losing my train of thought.
So he was suggesting that the Harris team was going to get the questions.
Correct.
Because Harris has a relationship with somebody at the top of ABC News, and the foundation that he has there, and this is why this is one of those misleading statements that could work, is that there was a case where Donna Brazile admitted to doing that in 2016, or some version of that. So there's like a seed of truth to something happening in the past, and now he's using that, exploiting it to make it seem like ABC News will be trying to tip the scale details in Harris's favor. ABC News has said they are not. None of the candidates are going to be getting the questions. That's pretty standard.
Right. And there's no reason to believe. It's unsubstantiated. It's unfounded. Donald Trump has nothing. Yet, if he goes and throws that out to the right-wing ecosystem there, right, folks are going to believe it. And you mentioned the Donna Brazile. Back in 2016, the hacked DNC emails revealed that when she was a contributor at CNN, that she had suggested to the Clinton campaign some of the potential topics that may be brought up at a town hall. She apologized in the aftermath of all of that. It wasn't a debate, but, you know, it kind of all gets mumble-jumbled together here. And for Donald Trump, he uses that seed of that one particular thing. They were not questions. They were potential topics. It to suggest that the debate next week, that Kamala Harris is going to have all the questions sent to her, which, of course, we have no reason to believe that's the case. And the other part is last night on Hannity, he was suggesting that Kamala Harris, the vice president, cannot complete a sentence. So he is setting the bar low for her. Of course, he did that back in June. And he is confident and believes that he is the best position to go and be able to make the case to the American public in a way that he is able to effectively do, that he's the better one position to take the White House.
We were talking about this with Isaac. Who's going to be able to paint the other as the incumbent? How is Donald Trump going to try to go after that? A lot of the policies that he is proposing are the same ones that he had in place in 2016, 2017.
Exactly. And I mean, as part of this here is when we're talking about, I actually was just 8 blocks down the road, ran over here from Midtown Manhattan. He was speaking to the Economic Club of New York. And
you're not out of breath.
And
incredible shape, my friend.
A lot of the policy proposals that Donald Trump is putting forward are to rescind what the Biden-Harris administration did, right? Rescind the tax credits for electric vehicles, you know, roll back the carbon emission standards, right? To go back to implementing tariffs, 10 to 20% tariffs on all imported goods. And he was making the case to these CEOs, hedge fund managers at this prominent economic club just a few moments ago that the economy under the Trump administration was great up until the pandemic. And now Biden and Harris are trying to take credit for everything that they have done, showing all the numbers, overinflating them because the numbers went so down during the pandemic. And so essentially he's trying to butt up in pre-butt what he can expect Kamala Harris to make on Tuesday's debate. So they'll both use the incumbency when it's convenient.
There's so much anticipation for this because the last debate blew up the Biden campaign. What's this debate going to be like? Especially, and this is always surprising to me, even though I've said it now a few times, Kamala Harris has never met Donald Trump. She's never spoken to him in person. The only time she's been in the same room as him is during a State of the Union. That's fascinating.
If I may, I covered Kamala Harris's 2019 presidential campaign day to day. And the discussion amongst us reporters was like, she would be so effective if she ever got the chance to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. When she was debating Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, they were steeped in decades of policymaking, votes, right? They had identities. Their biographies were already well known. But when it came to the idea of prosecuting the case, she was eager to do it because she had a history dating back to California as the Attorney General. I had talked with old colleagues and friends of hers that had mentored her inside of the Alameda County, District Attorney's office that said that she was so effective in not only asking the tough questions, but also when she was able to talk to victims and highlight their own stories. When you have both of those together, that is a part that I think most humans, right? There's an emotional side, and then there is also the exacting mathematical side. And not often in politics do we see somebody who is able to balance both of those. And I think that this is really a moment for Kamala Harris where she is going to be able to effectively, potentially, show that, or at least that's what her allies hope.
Von Hilliard, thank you very much. That is extremely interesting. Isaac Arnsdorf, thank you as well.